so you can play.
Matthew here from MiniWarGaming.com, and it's time for another Matthew Reviews what he thinks about before he's played, but really thinks he knows what he's talking about, of 7th edition 40k. And as always, don't forget, you can win one of these two monsters. One of them by just being a Vault member. Yeah, I'm going to choose a winner sometime randomly in June. It could be a trial Vault member too, so just go ahead and sign up at the link below. And the second one, of course, will be instructions in the video description below on how to win that one. Or of course, if you're a Vault member, you can do both, although you can only win one. I'm sorry. Today's video is going to be all about scratching my nose, and then we're going to talk about shooting phase. Shooting phase is interesting because it received very few changes, but the few changes it received, I believe, are really going to change the way the game plays, at least in certain circumstances. Ironically, one of the changes they made, which is how you fire the weapons, has been something that we've been doing anyways, for the most part, because it simplifies the game and makes it go faster. And anything that makes a game go faster is A-okay in my books. So what has changed? The major thing that's changed with the shooting phase, besides Jink and the way cover works, which we'll talk about in a second, is the order that you do stuff. And what I mean by that is this whole, you remember in 6th edition when they decided to bring in the rule saying you can only kill things up to the maximum range of your weapons in the group? And you're like, that's great. Well, what if you have a bunch of guys with pistols firing at 12 inches and you have one guy with a missile launcher firing 48 inches? And let's say there's one guy within 12 inches, and the rest of them are further than 12 inches, and there's 10 guys with pistols, and one guy with the missile launcher, and the 10 pistols fire, and the missile launcher fires, and the 10 pistols inflict 6 wounds, and it kills that guy, but because the missile launcher is 48 inches, all of a sudden those pistols can kill beyond 12 inches. Didn't make any sense whatsoever. And then you get like a battle wagon with orcs and burner boys, and they drive around, and all you had to do is put one mech boy in there with the custom Mega Blaster, which has like a 36 or 48 inch range, whatever it is, and all of a sudden those burner boys could burn things for a mile away. And I remember that because I'd have a big pack of gaunts, and he'd come up and Dan would put that stupid flamer down and he'd kill all of them because he'd hit them 60 times because there's like, he covers like 6 guys and there's like 10 guys with flamers inside. And I'm just like, it just doesn't make any sense just because you upgraded that one guy who can fire one shot and most likely miss, that the flamers can kill everybody. That's been fixed. Now instead, the way that it works is like this. I want to fire with a unit, so I say I'm going to fire at this unit, at that unit. That hasn't changed. Second thing is, I then choose a weapon that they're going to fire. So let's say I've got a tactical squad of Space Marines, and we've got, there's bolters, but the one guy's been upgraded with a rocket launcher, and one guy's got a melta gun, and then one guy's got a bolt pistol. So you got your sergeant with a bolt pistol or a plasma pistol, it doesn't really matter. And so you got 7 guys with bolters. So you say, I'm going to fire bolters first. And so then you resolve everything to do with those bolters. Now, each guy can still only fire once, so you can't be like, well, a guy's got a missile launcher and a bolter, so he could fire both. You can't. It's very clear in the rules, and if you dispute that, then you haven't really read the rules. So there's 7 guys who fire. They get to rapid fire. You do all the things like, oh, are they within 12 inches? They get double shots, whatever. None of that's changed, except if you're killing guys beyond 24 inches, you're doing it wrong, because the bolters can only kill up to 24 inches away. In the old rules, you could kill further than 24 inches because there's a missile launcher present and he has a 48 inch range. But we resolve everything, including wound allocation and saves, so there's multiple AP values and stuff doesn't come into play nearly as often, although it still could possibly. Because we have like rending and stuff that could happen. Like if a bunch of snipers are firing, they're all firing the same weapon, but like one of them could get a rending hit, in which case you do allocate them like that, like it was before. But once you've done the bolters, then you move on to the next weapon. Well, if the next weapon you choose is the pistol, he's only got a 12 inch range. So if all your rapid fire guys just killed everybody that was within 12 inches away and killed them all, then the bolt pistol can't fire. Which is, you know, it's kind of the, I don't like that. I think the bolt pistol should have been able to fire. But at the same time, it does really simplify the problem of maximum range of weapons. So you're going to have to be a little more tactical. So for example, if you got flamers in there, you better do them first, because if you rapid fire your guys away and your flamer can't touch anybody, he's kind of useless. At the same time, you get a burn a wagon full of burner boys, and they go up and they drop their template down and they hit 6 people, and there's 10 of them, they get 60 hits, but only those 6 people were in range and the rest of them are further away. You're only killing those 6. Doesn't mean that the burn a wagon thing isn't still super powerful, because there's been lots of times where I've been able to drive it up and there's like 4 Terminators and I hit them 60 times, and since I'm covering all of them, they take all those hits. And so it still works, it's just on a larger group, the flamer is not going to be able to kill stuff outside of the flamer range. So then you work through each of the weapons and you end with whichever one you want. You resolve one before moving on to the next. I really like that because it makes things simpler, and I know that because that's kind of the way we've been doing it, except if a guy was in range at the beginning of the shooting, then you got to shoot at him, that kind of thing. So that's the only difference between what we were doing and what they decided to do. They totally stole our idea. They saw our campaign and they decided we got to introduce them to the shooting phase. Obviously not, because this was obviously written at least months before we even put our 40K campaigns up. I don't actually believe that. But I do like it, obviously, because that's what we decided to do. Also, there's a slight change that if there's two guys that are closest, remember how you have to kill the closest one first? Well, in the old rules, you had to randomly choose one. Now, anytime you have to randomly do something that really doesn't matter, then you add time to the game, because then you got to roll a die and you got to measure distances. Now, if they're two of the same, it's like the assault phase. The defender gets to choose which one. Now, this is very important because you might have a character there and you want the other guy to die before the character, or the character might be the one soaking up all the hits. But it puts the onus on the defender to choose the right option rather than the attacker. Just like in the assault phase. The assault phase totally worked that way, which is great. Cover has changed, not so much like a major change as it has been a clarification. I just had a conversation the other day about this when it comes to area terrain. Dave and I actually had a really interesting conversation about this, maybe even like a bit of a dispute. Not really. While we were doing our campaign, because Dave and I treated area terrain very differently. I had the rule that if you fired through area terrain to something behind it, it got a cover save. And he had a rule that if you weren't in the area terrain, you didn't get the cover save. When you read the rules as written, he was right. And when you looked at the rules as intended, I was right, because they had some really weird wording about removing terrain features and then trying to put them back where they were, but you might not be able to, which would actually change who gets cover based on looking at true line of fire. And it was kind of confusing. Now the rules have been very clarified. They say they have certain types of terrain that they say if you're in it, you get this save no matter what. And if you're not in it, there's no rule that says that. So then you just go by true line of fire. So it's clarified it without really changing it. Now they changed cover saves a little bit, but other than that, it's just more that they made it clear, which I always say is a good thing. So cover has changed, and it hasn't changed at the same time. And lastly, the other big change is in the Jink special rule. And I'm including this in the shooting phase because that's pretty much the only place where it comes up. Jink used to be simple. You moved your skimmer, you got a 5-up cover save. Sometimes you had to gain Jink by like a flyer evading or a flying monstrous creature diving and deciding to do that. But now it's the same for everybody. That before somebody even rolls to hit you, so they declare they're shooting at you. Before they even roll to hit, you have to declare, I'm going to Jink. If you Jink, whether you're a jet pike or bike or a skimmer or a flyer or a flying monstrous creature, you get a 4+ cover save against the shots that are about to come. Has to be declared before they fire. I got mixed feelings about that because I know how many times I have forgotten to declare I'm going to evade before they rolled their armor penetration. Never mind before they rolled it to hit. So somebody's like, I'm going to fire there. And you're like, I was going to Jink. And they just rolled like a bajillion hits. They're like, of course you were. Now you saw that I rolled all 6s or whatever. So I don't like that. I'd prefer if the rule was after they rolled a hit in the wound or to hit in armor penetration, then you got to choose a Jink. I can see why they decided to do it the way they did, but I'm just thinking more for the way the game works. It would work the other way around, but whatever. It's the way it is. So basically you declare, yes, I'm going to Jink. You get a 4-up cover save, but then you have to snap fire the next turn. This is a big change because in first turn, if you were the one to go second and you got your skimmers on the one side and the other guy's like, I'm going to take advantage of that skimmer not moving, and I fire at him, he doesn't get his cover save because, well, in the old rules that you only got it if you moved. Now you can just be like, well, I'm just going to Jink. First turn, I get my 4-up cover, which is great, especially if it's night fighting, which we'll talk about in another one, where you just get stealth and +1 cover. You have a 3+ cover. Then you got to snap fire the next turn, so if you are some sort of tank that likes to fire or some sort of skimmer or vehicles that have ordnance weapons and all that, or blast weapons where you're not going to be able to use those, that kind of sucks, but it kind of levels the playing field for how Jink works. So those are the major changes in the shooting phase. Don't forget, you can win one of these! And I already told you how to do it, but just a refresher, be a Vault member and follow the instructions below. This is Matthew from MiniWarGaming. Thanks for watching, and happy wargaming.
We work so you can play.